Booktube. My name is Kate. This is my channel, Chapter Kate. Today we're going to be talking about reading as self-care. More specifically, reading for escapism. This is part of my Reading for Self-Care series, and this is the first specific recommendations video. On the majority of Booktube intros I see, I am watching and the question comes up, why do you like reading? And the person almost always says, for the escapism. Not every single time, but it seems like escapism is like the most popular answer for that, or some form of escapism. So let's quickly define escapism. Per Google. Escapism, the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking entertainment or engaging in fantasy. Now at BookNet Fest 2019, a lot of people were talking about using romance books as a form of escapism. They usually know what's going to happen going into it. It usually has a happy ending. And that's great. I haven't found romance to be like my cup of tea. Just haven't. I don't mind if there's romance like in books, but it's not something like I seek out. Escapism is a really great way to take a break from our reality. However, we don't want escapism to become avoidance. I talk to my patients a lot about this, and myself a lot about this. It's totally okay to walk away from a situation if you feel like it is causing you distress, but it's also important to know when to come back. Of course, not every situation requires you to come back to it. You know, if you're just walking down the street and someone just starts cussing you out, I'm probably just going to walk away from it. I'm probably just going to escape, because it's not like a relationship that is important to me with this random stranger. However, if me and someone significant, like a really close friend or my husband, me and him are arguing, if I take a break from it, I'm going to come back to it because that's a relationship I care about. And the same thing goes for other things in life. If there are issues that you have and you want to take a break from them, that's fine, but sometimes you have to come back and you have to process it and you have to face things. So escapism is totally great. Reading is a really great form of soft escapism. Now, like, if you want a hardcore escape, then, you can move across the country and change your name and, lie about your whole history. I've seen it. But reading is a really safe form of escapism. It allows you to escape from the comfort of anywhere. So what kind of books are best for escaping? In my opinion, the best books for escaping are books that have nothing to do with your current reality, or books that you can easily separate from your current reality. A lot of books have undertones that are very relevant to hard-hitting topics, or relevant to, reality, because that's, how art is made typically. But a lot of times it's not really on the nose. You can kind of, separate that awareness from what you're reading and kind of enjoy the experience without being pulled into that specific, topic or that specific thing if you don't want to be. So today I'm going to be talking about 5 books that work for escapism for me. The first book is Howl's Moving Castle. Diana Wynne Jones is a magical human being, and this is a magical book. It's middle grade, so it's pretty simple. It doesn't go into anything too deep. It does have a couple of deeper topics, but it just doesn't feel that way. It feels very whimsical to me, even though there is war and there's some other stuff. It just feels whimsical. Plus the film is just beautiful itself, and so you can accompany it with that and make it feel just like a nice collective form of escapism. If you haven't read Howl's Moving Castle, there's a wizard named Howl and there's a girl named Sophie. She's a hatter. She makes hats. And then she meets Howl one day, and everyone thinks that he's this like scary, heart-eating wizard. He's just like a charming, self-absorbed human being, wizard being. And so it's nice. It's whimsical. There's a scary, powerful fire demon named Calcifer. There's just a lot of cool just intrigue about this book, and I just really enjoy it. And so for me, this is a cool form of escapism. Did I mention that they live in this like mishmash of a house? It's like very kind of steampunky, and it like walks. But because I can separate that so easily from reality and what is possible, this book serves as a great form of escapism for me. The next book is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. For me, this book is a great form of escapism because of the lyrical language, and it's just so magical, and the way that everything is described makes it so easy to visualize the magic in this book. And to me, that really, really pulls me out of reality, and it just gives me fuel for my daydreams. In this book, there are these 2 main characters. There's a woman and a man. They both have some magic to them, and both of them sort of have like a mentor that is kind of raising them, and they are being raised to sort of compete against one another. What they don't know is that only one of them is meant to survive this competition. They end up at this sort of circus that is traveling and that is magical, and that people will like follow around and try to figure out where it's going to pop up next. But they also fall in love with each other, so there's romance in there for all of you people that like to look at romance for escapism. This has it all, in my opinion. The next book that I read for escapism is Welcome to Night Vale by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Cranor. This is actually a recent read for me, and it is based on The Town and then Welcome to Night Vale podcast, but it is not just specifically the podcast. There are books with those in them, but this is not that. Welcome to Night Vale is a desert town where everything is just weird. The unexpected is constantly happening in this town, and everything's kind of just accepted as normal. The thing I like about this book is that it kind of acknowledges how weird things are, and the characters acknowledge how freaking weird things are and how hard it is to be a citizen or a parent in Night Vale. And I think that's what I felt so charming about this. Also, librarians are terrifying in this town, so like, hope you don't need a book. And anytime this book feels like it's getting too serious, it'll throw in something very random. Like, she thought, what can I do? The faceless woman that lived in her cabinet thought, I would like some milk. Anytime it gets too serious, it throws you a curveball and it just jolts you out of that serious thinking and right back into the weirdness that is this place. So that's why I feel like this is a really good book for escapism, because it's just so ridiculous and weird, but also just well written that takes you right on out of reality. The next book that I might read for escapism is I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young. So in this book, there's this little girl, and she somehow happens upon fairyland, and she's supposed to have just a really magical day. She's supposed to, you know, make her way on this little quest, and then she'll be sent home. Unfortunately, it's been like 30 years and she still hasn't solved the quest, she still hasn't reached her goal, and she's stuck in fairyland in this tiny little girl body, but she's like 30 something and she's bitter. And also, most of the people that live in fairyland have grown to hate her. And also, because it's Scotty Young, all the illustrations are great and ridiculous, and I just love it. But it's an amusing trope to me, to be honest. And like there's this bitter little like firefly. I don't know if it's a firefly or just a regular fly. You know how like in Pinocchio he has his conscience, and in like other things they have like a little animal companion. She has this like little bug, and he's just miserable also because he's been stuck with her forever. You know, it's great. Also, there's like a lot of senseless violence, which is fun for me. And then the last book that I might read for escapism is another graphic novel, and this is Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. It's actually Saga of the Swamp Thing, so it has like several chapters. It has like several chapters to it, and there's I think 3 Saga of the Swamp Thing volumes, so this is book 1. But Swamp Thing is just this big swamp dude made out of leaves and moss and junk, and like, I don't know, I enjoy cryptids. And yes, Alan Moore, and if you know Alan Moore, he wrote Watchmen. He deals with a lot of deep topics, but because the idea of a swamp monster guy is so ridiculous to me, I'm able to separate it from reality. Even when there's, you know, things addressed in here that are relevant to, you know, real life, I'm still able to separate it because, I mean, he's a swamp monster. To me, swamp monsters are cool, so like, It also just has like this old school feel to it, which just takes me out of this time. And that's another way for me to escape, I feel like, is, you know, even though this is like on Earth and, you know, in this country and whatnot, it's not in this time, so I still feel displaced. That's another good quality of books that you might read for escapism. It makes you feel displaced from your current reality. But those are the 5 books that I read for escapism. Let me know below what books you read for escapism. And if you would like more of this junk, subscribe below. Bye! Tripping over shadows and I'm drowning in the night. I feel the soldiers coming and I'm putting up a fight.